players over here, and you can log in whenever you're done watching that video. And yeah, looks good. Okay, and then the system that I'm working on now that won't be in the game until probably another few hours at least is the buff system. Can we choose if it's one for all or team game? No. So the way that Botland is eventually going to work is that you will queue up against a team of people, and you'll be on a team as well. And so I want to keep it as close to how it'll eventually be starting now. So it'll be a team game for now. If you want to play on your own, you can always connect to play.bot.land and just not connect to the server. So you can start deploying. It'll still be a team game, but it's a team versus AI. Why is this stream actually always so delayed? I can't really say much about that. It might have to do with your internet, because I don't have any drop frames here, and my stream is at like 2 megabits per second. Unfortunately, until I get a certain number of viewers each day, I don't have the quality settings, so you can't lower the quality so that there is no delay for you. Oh wait, oh no, you're talking about something else. Never mind. You're talking about like when I show you something and when you can finally respond to it, etc. Yeah, no, that's just a Twitch thing. Okay, yeah, so match is about to start. I'm gonna deploy these bots. I'm gonna change landmines to be landmines level 1 and lasers to be lasers level 3. We're gonna do that. I mean, these bots are not gonna be great, but you can understand what they do at least well enough. And then we're also gonna see what team am I on. I'm on blue team. So I'm gonna make this move right. I'm gonna make it move right most of the time. I'm gonna put if percent chance 40, then let's move randomly. Okay. There is a delay option in OBS. Maybe that is on? No, I think it's just Twitch. Okay, so now we gotta wait until the match starts. There are 17 seconds left. Now right now, there's not really much you can do during this time, but eventually what you're going to do is you're going to be choosing which buff you want. And so this might be an involved choice for you, and then it might involve changing your code as well. So yeah, for right now. PvP Antera says, what engine are you using? I'm using Pixie as a rendering engine, but I'm not really using a game engine. Alright, so here we go. Here are my bots. If anyone on the red team, so Esku or the Oetzi, deploys, then my bots will start shooting lasers at them. Adam answers me in like 5 seconds. Yeah, I guess that's a good way of seeing. Alright. Oh, Esku just disconnected. Oh, so the only person who's online who could play against me is the Oetzi right now. Alright, well, Token and Noob for lunch, let me know if you have any questions. Or really anyone, let me know if you have any questions. Oh, there are the deploys. Okay, so here we go. Oh, it's 2-2. Oh man, this bot is terrible. They're so bad. Oh man, yeah, this isn't good. I should change their logic a little bit so that if the closest enemy exists, let's just duplicate this whole block and put it up at the top. So we'll put this here, and we'll take the pursue out of here. Yeah. Oh, and we gotta move this too. So we'll put this up at the top, and then put this here, and then we'll kill all the bots that I have there, and then redeploy. So now they'll cloak as soon as they can see an enemy. Like this one just cloaked immediately, and now he's shooting, but I can't be seen. So this is a slightly better strategy. Now my score should go up a little bit better. Having trouble saving my custom bots? I cannot save blockies. The Oetzi, I know save and load are a little bit weird right now. The way that it works is this. You can put whatever you want in here. So like I can put the string hello. And then, I can't get rid of this stuff right now. Okay, well anyway, this button down here that's being hidden right now is the save button. So let's say I put landmines over here and I hit save. Now the next time I refresh, it's not going to show up by default. I need to hit the load button. But even then, there's a bug right now where load doesn't auto reload it, so you need to close and then reopen Blockly. So that's probably the issue you're running into. After loading, just close/reopen Blockly. Okay, cool. So let's get rid of this stuff and this we don't need. All right, so validating the buff choices. Here's what we're gonna do. we're going to say we got to make sure the buff ID is in their set of choices. So we have the player, and we have their buffs to choose from. And we don't have any way of getting this, so we'll say get buffs to choose from. Or actually, you know what I could say? Yeah, where should I do this validation? I'll say can choose buff, buff ID. Return underscore dot contains this dot buffs to choose from buff ID. Okay, now in the game server we say if not player dot can choose buff ID, then logger dot info player attempted to choose buff ID, but only has access to JSON.stringify player dot this. Okay, and then we return. Oh, whoops! I closed that with a wait. What's going on here? Oh, I forgot to close the parenthesis. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, and then let's also do this. We'll say this. Okay, let's just save that. Let that rebuild. Also, did anyone else connect yet? No. All right, here we go. Let's try this out. So I don't have buff choices for some reason. Something screwed up. That's not good. Wait, what did happen here? Why don't I have buff choices? That would be the simulation server screwing up. But this is set right here to post game. Wait a second. What's happening? Yeah, I don't actually know what's happening here. That's weird. I should have the buff. Oh, I'm not connected. Oh man, I made this mistake like a million times. I'm connecting to the actual server. I need to connect to the local version of this. Yeah, thank you, Noob for Lunch. I'm gonna give you a point, even though I also noticed that at the same time. By the way, Noob for Lunch, I don't know if you saw this earlier, but you got access to the game, so you can start playing right now. In fact, let me put this in chat. Noob for Lunch and Token. You have access to the game. Type /w botland bot password to find your password. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so here we go. So now when I do this, all right, check this out. So when I hit choose, we should only see, wait, we don't see anything. Did I get rid of the log? No, I didn't. What happened here? Oh, it was just really laggy for some reason. Oh, is this because, no, I don't know what's happening. That's pretty weird. Like, oh, never mind. It's just like really spamming. Oh, all right, I'm stupid. Okay, you attempted to choose % damage dealt, but only have access to, oh, these are objects. They're buffs. So we can't do this. We need to say buffs to choose from is an array of buffs. So yeah, we need to do this. We need to say function buff return buff.getID equals buff ID. That's how this needs to be set up. Yeah, so returns true if you're allowed to choose the given buff. Buff ID is buff constants.IDs, and then this is a boolean. Okay, let's try that out. This should work a lot better. Yeah, I was making lunch. Have to go back to lunch now, though. We'll play later. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, back to work. Got it. All right, so now when we do this, now this should be much clearer. Oh, that still failed. Maybe I just didn't wait long enough. That is possible, but unlikely. Yeah, something's still wrong here. Okay, let's take a look. Let's just put a breakpoint here and try this out again. So we have buff ID is what? % damage dealt. So we go into here and we see, does this contain this buff? How does this work? Oh, this function never gets called. Okay, so Lodash doesn't work the way I think it does. Dot find iterates over elements of collection, returning the first element predicate returns truthy for. The predicate is bound to this arg and is invoked 3 arguments: value, index or key, and collection. So it is indeed the collection I want. Find function chr. Huh. Yeah, weird. This dot buffs to choose from is an array. I get a buff from that. I return buff.getID equals buff ID. This isn't even getting called though. That's strange. Okay, let's put another breakpoint right here, and let's do this. Decreases damage taken. So we're gonna hit the play button here. Let's try this out. What is this returning? It's returning false. So what is this dot buffs to choose from? 3 buffs, and the 0th one's ID is what? Yeah, percent damage dealt, and the first one ID is equal to our buff ID that we passed in. Yes, true. Huh. Oh, it's not find that I'm using. I typed in the wrong function in the documentation. I'm using contains, which probably does not take in a predicate. It's called includes. Collection target from index. Oh, I'm a the dummy. Okay, so it's find that I want to use. Yeah, okay. So underscore dot find. Adam underscore dot. Oh god, it's so embarrassing. This is one of the downsides of working on Twitch, is that people have to be like, Adam, you're on google.com, not Botland, and Adam, you're typing in C#, not JavaScript. Oh, it's so bad. All right, thank you. I'm really trying to push the limits of coding right now. Trying to see how many mistakes we can make before people are just like, I'm not watching this guy anymore. Okay, good. So player chose a buff that exists, player chose a buff that exists, player chose a buff that exists. Great. Now watch this. Now when we hack this, we're going to turn into master hackers here. We're going to try fake buff. Watch this. Going to say, cannot read property emit of undefined. I'm not connected. Okay, hang on. We'll just fix this. Simulation server dot what's it called? Chose buff. Fake buff. Oh, look at that. Player attempted to choose fake buff, but only has access to these 3. Oh, so now I know that someone's a hacker. Do you know how underscore is called in Python? Built-in types. I get it. No one likes JavaScript. Okay, so we've done the simplest form of validation we can do, which is just, do you have this buff to choose from? Now, thankfully, we've done type validation as part of this as well, because we did triple equals. So we don't need to check to see, is this a string or is it a function? We never call the function if it's a function. You actually can't pass a function across anyway. And we're on google.com. I actually have wanted to add in, well, that quote I think needs a little bit more context, but let's see if I can set up the quote system again, because everyone had been keeping track of some of these, and I thought some were actually decent. The quotes that I have, I mean. Yeah, the one thing I love about making a Sublime package is all the built-ins from Python. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so add quote. Who can add quotes though? They're mod commands, but then quote is a command everybody has access to. So I think I can just enable the quote command. How do I do this? Phantom bot. Let's see. I used to have this written down in here. Oh, you know what? I probably moved it into my notes. Do I have Phantom bot in here? Phaser.js. No, maybe I never wrote this down. Tools. Oh yeah, I did write it down. Okay, here we go. We'll do this. Module enable. Wait, how do I do this? Bang modules. Is this how I do this? This is probably gonna spam chat. module list. How do I use this command? Oh, there we go. Oh, so where's the quote command? There it is. Okay, yeah, that definitely spam chat. So now we do module enable quote command. Okay, so now when you type bang quote, there are no quotes at this time. /command/quote command. All right, everyone, if you have a backlog of quotes saved somewhere, then now's the time to send them over. No, so only mods can add the command. Only mods can add quotes, I mean. And yeah, okay, you guys can stop typing bang quote. Are there edit quotes? How would you even do this? Quote number. Oh, interesting. And delete quotes. Huh, cool. Yeah, I should have had this there from the beginning. Oh well. Mod a riot. Guess it's gonna be a riot. Okay. So this is validate their choice. Grant them the buff. Yeah, this is gonna be a little bit. I think it's. Wait, what's the command? Sorry, I should really look at. It's add quote, not quote add. And that's not even a quote that like would make any sense, right? It's just me saying 2 words. Add quote at Void Dreamer. Nice hacks. Quote added. There are now 1 quote. Okay, great. By the way, now's the chance you have to go watch my Master Hacker video, Adam13531 Hacker tutorial. If you haven't seen this, this'll make you a hacker in no time. No time. I thought quote add would give me an error. No, if it's just a made up command, it doesn't tell you that it's not a command. Quote number 0 should change the start of 1. No, that's the only one I remember. I'll have to look through all of my VODs. Okay, so grant them the buff. Here's what we do now. We go to player.js and we say apply buff or add buff. How did I do this? Shared player, add buff. The amount of CMD shortcuts in the vid. Oh, I'm glad you can enjoy that. So now we need to get the buff from that player dot. How do we do this? We need to get the buff by the ID. Actually, you know what? This should just return. Yeah, okay. I changed my mind. We're gonna do it this way. Can choose buff. So wait. How does find work? Find should return the thing. So what this is doing, oh, okay. So we need to check this. Player.can choose buff. It doesn't return a boolean this way. Underscore.find, because this used to be contains. Underscore.find is going to return the actual buff object. Quote 0 is historic. So what should I name this function then? Like get buff choice? Yeah, get buff choice. Okay, so returns a buff if you're allowed to choose the given buff. Returns the corresponding buff object if you're allowed to choose the given buff by ID. Good, yeah, so this is question mark buff. Good, now we have something. All right, next we can do if util.exists, so we say this, const buff equals player dot, whatever I called this, get buff choice, buff ID. If not util.exists buff. Good. Perfect. So now we can add that buff to the player. Grant them the buff. So good. We've done that. Apply the buff to... No, something's wrong here. What do we do in the simulation server? There. Oh, we got rid of the code. Alright, well, what has to do with buffs in here? Add buff, apply buffs to an entity. Add buff is adding them to the player. Yeah, so add buff is definitely what I want to call. But then I need to apply this to like everything. Add scene buffs. No, yeah. Alright, well, that's too bad. Adam, this video reminded me of why Haskell is great. 10 minutes. I see great minds think alike. I'll write myself a note to watch this video later. Watch this video that Spurtman sent. Adam, tell us some more of your OneNote store jokes. No, I can't do that. Only two things. Yep. Yep, roving eye. I actually said that on stream a little while ago. Hey, Skynet. Two hard problems in the distributed system. That's a corny joke. Alright. So next, apply buffs to all existing entities, including landmines. Now, I believe I wrote something on here. Yeah, make sure they immediately apply to any existing entities. Where is this thing? So how would I do this? Well, we don't keep track of landmines that the player has. We used to. I used to have that code, but I don't any longer. Okay, well, let's defer this for a little bit. So tell the player that they got the buff. Yeah, we can do that. We can say player.emit. No, we can't emit here. We need a route. We need a route. Okay, yeah, we need a route only to that player. Yeah, so buff choice successful. That's what we're going to call this. And it's the player, and we're going to pass back the same buff ID that they had. Buff ID. And then delete all of their choices. So deleting their choices is going to be player dot, what is it, reset buff choices? Reset scene buffs. Buffs to choose. Where do I even set this? Set current buff choices. Yeah. So we're going to say player.set current buff choices to an empty array. Remove their choice. Knock race condition, who's there? Well, route SN, use this newfound power wisely. Okay. So yeah, now we need to make this. We need to go into router actions, and we've done this a million times. So let's make a new router action. This is going to be server buff choice successful. And let's take a look at buff choices. We're going to need to change this in something like 6 or 8 places in the code. So we've already, no, we haven't modified it here. Okay, so server buff choice is successful equals buff choice is successful. We have this in main. We're going to say buff choice successful. This dot successfully chose buff. Good. Set buff choices. We don't need that. That's an action. Oh, so we don't need actually several of those. We don't need that either. But we do need this. So export const server equals 46 sent by the server to indicate that a player successfully chose a buff. This is currently only sent to one person. It's going to need to be sent to everyone at some point. Okay, yes. Just be wise. Alright, buff choice successful. Good. And then finally we have this one. This should be the last of it. Yes, perfect. All right, so client main, we have successfully chose buff. Here's what we're gonna do. Buff ID. We're just gonna do this, reset buff choices. And that's it. So at some point we really wanna put this somewhere, and we know that this is only for your own player right now. So this is sent by the server to indicate that you successfully chose a buff. This is buff constants.ids. That C should be capitalized. And there, that's it. So we're gonna say here to do, we probably need to do more than just reset choices here. We also need to consider whether this function will eventually apply to any player, not just your player. In that case, we would also need to change the comment of the function. So let's keep that, and then I think this will work, but it's kind of hard to tell. So let's do this. We will make a buff that is so powerful, 999999. There. Reminds me of a German joke. Okay, yeah, except for is there any real-time folder sharing program like GitHub you have to fork and push manually? Is there any program that syncs the files? Isn't Dropbox that you want? Where did quote 0 go? Oh, it's a random quote. I think you can specify a number if you want. Yeah. But I think it's just random. Okay, so here we go. Check this out. Increases damage dealt by a whole lot. We're going to pick this buff because it's clearly overpowered. And it's going to break in. Hey, isn't that great? That's because this is... No, wait. Util doesn't exist. Oh, I am totally wrong. So this should just be util. Except for that's not how you type a word. Okay. Here we go. Let's try this out again. Let's pick the overpowered buff. Hey, cool. The choices went away, so that was number 1. Number 2, oh, our time remaining is 51 seconds. That's a problem. We gotta wait a really long time to test to see if this works. Alright, well, let's go speed it up. Constants, pre-game. We'll set this to just 5 seconds, I guess. Because the amount of time it takes to rebuild this entire thing and then wait 5 seconds is shorter than just letting this tick down on its own. So we'll save about 15 seconds, I guess. Yeah, okay, there we go. Talk about efficiency. Okay, let's choose the super overpowered buff, and let's just put in whatever bot I have saved here. Hello. No, we can't do that. Okay, fine. Let's put in the melee bot. We'll put melee, and we'll say move left, and we'll put melee and thrusters. Save this bot and auto deploy. It should kill everything it touches in one hit. Perfect. Buffs now work. This is pretty sweet, although it's not totally working yet. And actually, what I wanted to do, let's make this the Zapper bot. Let's put Mr. Zaps in here. Oh, I used to have a teleporting zapping bot. I don't have that anymore. Oh, man. Man. Now let's save this. Make it move left. And refresh this page. Alright, we'll try this out. Increase damage dealt by infinite. Load the bot. Auto deploy. Kill zone. Go kill zone. Show them what you're made of. It's too powerful. This is like lawnmower bot. Look at this. It just moves in the vicinity of something else and kills them all. Too good. Too strong. Wow. Okay, well, the buffs are working. It's pretty sweet. It seems like this game is rigged almost as much as the giveaways. A website where you can make your own website? Oh, I've seen this before. This is Balsamiq mockups, right? Okay. Yeah, so buffs are working. I'm pretty happy about that, but they're not totally finished yet. Where is game server? Here we go. So yeah, this to-do item. Apply to all existing entities, including landmines. Oh boy. Well, applying to bots is easy enough. Here's what we could do. We could say this dot arena dot apply buff to player entities buff player. Oh man, let me get some water. All right, now we need to write this function. Let's go into Serve Arena. What about a website that would make a website? All right, I'm not reading the rest of that. Let's do this. So here's the problem. How much of this do we actually need to tell the client about? So for example, if there was a buff that made you leech life and it added some sort of sparkle animation or something like that, you wouldn't have the animation unless we told you about it. Maybe we put this into the shared arena. And that way, later, we can just yeah, have this work. So, excuse me. Not reading the rest of my message feels bad. Yeah. This should be called whenever a player receives a new buff. It will apply the buff to all of their entities. Okay, so the buff is a buff, and the player could be anything. It could even be a boat. So what we're gonna do here, we have the apply buffs to an entity in here, and it's a new buff. So I guess all we need to do is this. Well, this is not really all we need to do, but we need to iterate over all the entities. Okay, let's do this. For.star entities. Yeah, this. And I guess we could add it to dead entities as well. It doesn't really matter, but let's do it this way. So we get the entity, and if the entity doesn't have the isDead component, then let's do player.apply buff. Right? It's apply buff? Apply buffs. Oh, that's not right. Add buff to entity, buff comma entity. Add buff to entity, buff entity. Is that all? No, this is not all. Oh, I almost screwed this up. Okay, so const, we need to make sure this player owns the given entity. I don't think we have a function for that. So here's what we'll do. We'll say const owner equals this dot get owner of entity. If owner, how about this? If player dot equals owner, then we add the buff. Okay. Cool. I'm going to save this again just to make absolutely sure that this picked up my change. And then here's what we'll do. We need to do these steps exactly. So steps 1, deploy a bot. 2, pick the buff after the deploy. 3, ensure the bot is overpowered. Perfect. It's the perfect plan. Are you ready for this? So we're going to deploy a bot first. So we're going to ignore that UI entirely. We got our Zapper bot, and now we're going to hit the deploy button. Deploy. All right, then we're going to choose the buff. Perfect. And now it should do damage. And yes, good. Amazing. Incroyable. We are set. So what this really means is that we should test this with landmines. Let's try that out. Hardware constants, landmine. How do we do this? Wait, we should test this way first. Let's make a landmines bot. So let's put landmines, thrusters. We'll say lay mine and then move left. All right, there we go. These landmines should be one-hit kills. It's going to be really hard to test this, though. Adam is French. The internet was successfully destroyed. Hi, Happy Ashes TV. I'm not French. Okay, move on to the... Yes, yes! 100% damage. Okay, cool. Landmines are correctly affected by this. So now what we need to test is this. We set the time to live for landmines to be really, really long. And then we test this same code that we had. Okay, I can think of a way to do this. It's going to be kind of hard. And how do we do this? So we set this to 2. Yeah, okay. All right, here's what we got to do. We got to come up with a scenario that will make the enemies move into our landmines without taking damage from anyone else. So we've made it so that there's only one AI player, and that is on the blue team. So we should see only blue bots spawn in 4 seconds. And we need to do the same thing that we did before, where we deploy a bot before... Okay, good. So blue bots are spawning. We deploy a bot with very specific code. So we need to do this. If X is greater than 8, move left. If can lay mine, lay mine. And then if can move up, move up. If can move down, move down. I can't even see what I'm typing anymore. So we're going to assume that I typed everything correctly. A great assumption to make. Now we deploy a bot, and then we pick the landmine damage. Done. Okay, now he's going to move here. He's going to start laying mines. Oh, perfect. It worked. Nice. Okay, so here's what that just tested. When you pick a buff after you already had landmines, we correctly update the landmine to do way more damage than it should. Of course you aren't French. We couldn't coexist on the same page otherwise. And hi, I won't ask how you're doing. You seem very excited, so I guess you're fine. Yes, that is correct. Okay, now if they eventually walked into this landmine, they would immediately die. But we're not going to wait for that because we already tested this. So let's just put that off to the side. And if you guys want to see this happen, possibly eventually, then we can do this. Yeah, this is pretty good for now. So let's go to the game server. Make sure the player has the buff. Gets the buff, and then apply the buff to all existing entities owned by the player. Good. Tell the player they got the buff, and then remove their choice so that they can't pick this again. Now it's that last part that's pretty interesting. Oh, good. That bot died. All right, so here's what we're going to try. Let's use our hacking skills, and let's do this. We're gonna choose buff percent damage dealt. All right, so we press enter, and it's gonna act as though we clicked this overpowered buff over here. So we press enter, done, and it picked that buff for us. Great. Now let's try picking it again. Good. Doesn't work. And percent damage taken also doesn't work. So yeah, once you've chosen a buff, you've chosen it, and there, you're done. Okay. This is working, and we can actually deploy this pretty soon, and then you guys can test out buffs, although I should add in more buffs before I do that. But this is really sweet. This is where I wanted to get to for like the last week, and we're just finally getting there now. Don't mind me, I'm just watching for potential quotes. Okay, let's check in. This is going to involve undoing a lot of code that I put in. So for example, well, that's fine. This is sent by the server to indicate that you successfully chose a buff. I don't know why. I scrolled down like 7 seconds ago. I don't know why it's not scrolling down. Oh, that was weird. There was a tooltip that somehow got the focus. How did that even happen? Also, look, the cursor changes to be on the left here. Okay, so successfully chose buff. We just reset our choices. It's fine for now. What's up next? Oh, simulation server. All right, so this stuff is all going to get wiped out. We just won't check that in. Here we have player chose buff. And this is logger.info. We're going to change it to logger.verbose. And then this should be an error, I believe. That way we catch if anyone's doing anything wrong. But the rest of that's all great code. I like that. Okay, apply buff to player entities. This is, I'm going to write a couple of things in here. This is not the best way of doing things. Well, this is not the most efficient way of adding buffs since we iterate over every single entity, but we don't currently keep track. I'll write currently. We don't currently keep track of, what are they called? Artillery shells and landmines. So we would either need to start keeping track of them or perform an O of n iteration, which could potentially introduce bugs, or perform an O of n iteration over all entities. All right, so there's that. And then the other thing is this function. No, I'm not going to say anything else. Let's just leave it like that. But it is worth noting the performance implication and why I did that. So yeah, this buff constant is not going to remain being overpowered. Now, if I were to ask you guys, if I know this sounds really stupid, I'm going to make a straw poll. Like I said, this is a really dumb straw poll, but I'm going to say if the +% damage dealt buff added 15 gave 15% damage dealt, then how much do you think -% damage taken should be? I'll write I'll write 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%. Because I don't want to work with, I don't want to work with any, well, let's say 25% in case people think that too. I don't want to work with something that's not a multiple of 5 for right now. Like I said, it's a stupid poll. I just kind of want to see what do people think in general. Why don't entities like mines have a placer property or something? What do you mean by a placer property? Oh, the person who placed it. They do. The thing is, I need to, yeah, they have that already. I just don't have the other way around, which is that given the person who laid the mine, what are all of the mines that I've laid? So I just iterate over it, which I don't think is too bad for right now. Oh, let's look at the results for this. What do people think? Like, I wouldn't expect anyone to choose probably 5% or 25%. So I think people will probably pick somewhere between 10, 15, and 20. And I think it should probably just be 15%. But I want to see what other people say. And remember, eventually there are going to be hundreds of buffs. So there's a chance that you just never even see either of these buffs during a game. But yeah, I'm curious. Okay, so there we go. We have hardware constants. This is going to get reverted. Get buff choice. Returns a corresponding buff object if you're allowed to choose a given buff. I'll write something else here. Get buff choice. This function is partially used as a means of validating that the user specified buff ID corresponds to an existing buff choice. %17.6% to fully counteract damage. Anything between 15 and 20. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at 15, I think. I just want to see what people have to say. Like, that's it. Okay. All right, pub subtopics, got that down, and now these, got that down. Great. All right, cool. So choosing a buff now has a functional benefit, an immediate functional benefit. The buff is applied to all living player-owned entities. All living entities owned by that player. Choosing a buff now has an immediate functional benefit. The buff is applied to all living entities owned by that player. I think that's pretty much all this commit did, right? Let me just take a quick look. Successfully chose buff. Yeah, it works on the client too. I think that kind of goes without saying. Yeah, and then the rest of this is just applying buffs immediately. Yes, 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 and yes. Okay, great, yeah. So here's what we do. After choosing, oh, and we should test one more thing actually. BL game run, close the other game that we have running, and let's wait for that to load. So after choosing a buff, the client will no longer show the choices since, well, yeah, the UI, the buff choices UI. Yep. Okay. So let's try this out with this. Also, okay. All right, so here we go. We're going to connect to the server. We're given some choices that we can immediately pick from. So let's do increase missile range by 1 tile. Now let's deploy missiles bots. So we're going to deploy this, and we'll put missiles on it, and I don't really care about anything else, so let's just put thrusters so that they move faster. Okay, deploy a bunch of those. And yeah, there are a lot of sirens outside right now. Okay, so there we go, there are those. Next we're going to deploy, let's connect as Atom 2. We're going to decrease damage taken by 15%. So we're going to see which one of these bots wins. This is going to be, okay, and this is like decreased damage. And we're going to have the same thing, missiles and thrusters. So now, the Atom 3 bots will shoot from farther away because they have +1 missile range, but they do less damage. I have a feeling +1 missile range is going to win out here, partially because I don't know how much damage it takes for missiles to take a higher number of missiles to kill. But actually, it looks like I might be wrong, because blue team has 3 kills and red team has 1, although blue team also has 4 wounded bots. I should have steered them toward the player. Huh. Interesting. Okay, yeah. Blue team is winning. So I guess missile range +1 isn't as good as I thought. It lets you get 1 more hit. Interesting. No, it's 4-4. I don't know. I don't know what to take from this. Huh. Yeah. Well, let's just let this run, I guess. Let's increase the tick time. We'll say this dot game server dot arena dot tick time equals 1. There. This will let us know exactly who's better. So red team is very clearly winning right now, almost by double the score. So increasing the range is really, okay, this is really cool. So in a vacuum where you just have missiles, increasing the range of missiles is better than decreasing the damage you take. But when it's not just missiles, decreasing the damage taken is probably very good. Cool. I like it. So this made the red bots twice as effective as the blue bots. Pretty neat. Okay, let's close the server down. What team am I on? Oh, I'm on the red team also. Dumbo, the bot. Okay. Yeah, let's check it in. Missile speed isn't influenced by tick time. Yeah, it's not supposed to be. So missile speed is just for the sake of the client. In fact, every animation is just for the sake of the client. The only reason bots are moving faster is because if the simulation is going too fast for animations, then the animations need to be caught up. Missiles are a lie, yeah. All right, let's close these things down. Now, can I send the choice to the server? Yeah. So send buffs at the 5-minute and 10-minute marks too. In order for this to work, we need to auto choose a buff for a player if they already have an outstanding choice. All right, but first I need to use the bathroom. So I will be right back. I thought of something, and that's that I can't provide buffs at the 5 and 10-minute marks until there are more than 3 buffs to choose from, otherwise the game will just crash. So I gotta fix that. Let's see. So I guess the first thing that we do is we add some new, what is this even under? Come up with a system for letting the player choose buffs. Yeah, well, whatever, that's pretty much done. Let's put these just down here. Add some new buffs so that so that giving choices later in the game won't crash the game. So let's see. Life leech, increased landmine time to live, increased artillery splash damage, bonus regen. Oh, bonus regen is interesting. Let's pick that one. Yeah, let's pick that one. Excuse me. Regen. Okay, let's do this. We're going to say ID regen. Regenerate buff dot value life every turn. So it's going to be 15 points at the major and what did I say? 5 points in minor? Yeah, 5 points in minor. Okay, cool. So there, we have the buff now. Next, let's go into code execution system as what's responsible for handling regeneration. Yeah, so here, regen current bot. We need to get, so regen amount is the regen hardware. This now, ooh, this is wrong. We need to say let regen amount equals 0. This is not return. We need to say if it exists, then get, then regen amount plus equal that regen amount. Now, if regen amount by the time we get here is still 0, then we return. Otherwise, we modify the life of this thing. So we have one other way that we can adjust this. So let's put a breakpoint here, not a breakpoint, a bookmark, and let's take a look at missile range here. Right, here's where we do this. So we say regen buff equals get buff IDs dot regen. If it exists, then regen amount plus equal regen buff dot value. Perfect. Okay, let's try this out. Now let's also do a couple of other things as long as we're at this. Let's go into constants and we'll set the pregame time back to something really, really low. We'll set it to 1 second. Yeah, let's try that. So all we got to do is we've got to deploy a bot and then pick the regen buff, and we should see it work immediately. Yeah, let's try this out. I just gotta wait for this to finish building. Then we will take care of this. Okay, refresh the page. Now we should, oh, there's no guarantee that we even get the regen buff. Oh, but we did, so that's good. Okay, now I'm gonna deploy a bot. Let's deploy a melee bot. No, I don't want to do that. Let's deploy the Ultra Killer bot. We'll put missiles and cloaking, and we'll make it move left. So we'll deploy that. Okay, so there's the bot. It's called Shroud. It's pretty appropriately named. All right, and then we'll give it regen as soon as it starts taking damage. There we go. Now we hit regen, and there, yeah, its life went up immediately. Perfect. So take a look. It's regenerating life, but we didn't have to give it the regen hardware. That's pretty good. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab some water. Yep. Okay, so regen is done. Let's add another buff now. So bonus regen, lower cooldown on all Terminators. Should I do that one next? This is such a minor change though, that I don't know. Like Life Leech would be a little bit more interesting. Although even then, oh, Life Leech is going to be annoying though, because to code this, the client needs to be told about Life Leech in the same message that we send damage across. Those toes? What? I don't know what you're getting at. Were my toes visible at some point? How far would I have to back up to even? Oh, I guess it's possible. Okay, we'll save. Let's just check this in for right now. This is the regen buff. Yeah, so get rid of that. So now we have let regen amount. We can either get it from hardware or we could get it from the buff. All right, good. Regen, good. Yeah, okay, cool. So added a regen buff. Great, what next? Increase landmine time to live. I guess we'll take all of these and we'll try to use them all. So increase landmine time to live. Laser bounce off wall buff. That'll be probably just hardware, not necessarily a buff, although it could be eventually. So let's take a look. We're going to make a landmine TTL. Okay, good. So this is landmine TTL. Your landmines live for that more util dot pluralize buff dot value turns. Your landmines live for 5 more turns, let's say. Yeah, that's good. Okay, but what do we set this to? I said 9 and 3. It seems very overpowered, but let's do it anyway. I went to depend. What does that mean? Dub shell? So landmine TTL, we're going to do the same way that we did it here. We have this regen buff. We have a time to live somewhere over here. I don't know where. Probably in the arena. Shared arena. Okay, I still don't know what that means. No, serve arena. Time to live. Excuse me. Here we go. Finally found it. Get the landmine hardware's time to live. Okay, so this is what's going to need to be modified. So we're going to say let, and we're going to do this right here. We'll say, do we have buff constants first of all? Yes, we do. Perfect. So we're going to say landmine TTL buff. Oh, the penitentiary. Yeah, 14 years. Get buff. We're going to say, oh, there's no owner here. We only got the landmine hardware. We should pass in an entity. Okay, so let's say landmine layer. Oh, Digipen. Oh, no. Or did I for 14 years? Landmine TTL. Okay, good. So then if that exists, we're going to say time to live plus equal the buff's value. So I need to change this function. There's probably only one caller, so it's not like it should be too challenging. Yeah, let's just go change it. Okay, yeah, there is only one caller. And here we have the landmine hardware of the active bot. Let's just pass in the active bot, I guess. Get landmine a tile. So this dot active bot. And we know that it has landmine hardware. Yeah. So we'll change this part here. We'll say that this is an entity. Landmine layer. The entity laying this mine. Okay. We call this landmine layer, and we get the hardware. Oh, we don't need to do that yet. We need to do that here. Landmine hardware equals this dot, yeah, get hardware to data is done on the code execution system. Execution system dot get hardware to your data. Oh, we don't even need, oh, what? Interesting. Okay. We already know that they have, well, let's assert that it exists. It's the safe thing to do. Assert util.exists landmine hardware tried. So a landmine layer, no. Create landmine a tile called with an entity that doesn't have landmines. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. Okay, everything should be done. This should work. Let's try it out. Dubshell, did you go to Digipen? Have I met you in real life somehow? Okay, again, there's no guarantee I get this buff. Yeah, your landmines live for 9 more turns. Maybe last for 9 more turns makes more sense. Live for, last for. Ah, yes you did. Well, it is possible we know each other. I mean, I do live in Washington State. Although I would urge that you change this conversation over to whispers instead of public so that we can confirm or deny that. Although, I guess if we have met each other, then it would have just been in passing or something. Otherwise, you'd recognize me. Okay, yeah, let's put the landmine bots down. So we're gonna make lay mine and then move, and let's count. So we're gonna make landmine level 1. Let's deploy once. So there is, oh, that didn't work. I must have screwed something up. Yeah, get buff from entity is undefined. Oh, where is that taking place? Oh, here. Okay. No need to whisper. You're busy. I want to. No, that's fine. I don't mind. Plus, there's times where I have to build and I just have to wait here anyway. What kind of Twitch streamer would I be if I didn't interact with people? All right, let's save this code. And let's try this out now. We have to get that, yeah. See, now that we have 5 buffs, we didn't get the landmine buff, so we just got to refresh until we get it. Once there are too many buffs, I'll write some custom function that'll change this. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so check this out. We're going to load the code that we had from before. We're going to deploy one of these bots. Now, a landmine should last, what, 3 turns? It's actually kind of hard to tell. Okay, let's take a look. Hardware constants, landmines. Landmines should last, 11 turns. Wow. Okay, so the only way... 3... No, we can't. Okay, well, I'll just choose this buff and we'll try it out. Now it should last for 24 turns, I guess. So, yeah, there we go. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, it's already past 11. 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, there, it went away. I was probably off in my count, but I think that worked. Oh, no, I wasn't off. It was that my count that I was counting to was wrong. Am I afraid of Donald Trump ascending to power? I don't think I'll be talking about politics on this stream. Okay, cool. So I think this works, and I think that it's nice that it was easy enough to add in certain buffs. So let's go check this in, and we'll try to add in a few more buffs. All we needed was at least 5, because the way that it works is you get a choice of 3, so you'll get like A, B, and C. And then the next time you can't get the choices that you got before, so you'll get like A, B, and D. And then the next time you'll get A, B, and E. So I only needed 5 of these, A, B, C, D, and E. And I believe I have 5 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could stop there. You can place more than 1 mine per tile? No, you can't. And that's where can lay mine comes into play. You can only lay a mine if there isn't already a mine there, and if you have landmine hardware. Okay, cool. So this is now the mine TTL. Okay. Get component active bot. Yep, looks good. It looks good, and this is not something we check in. So added landmine TTL buff. Great. Now, life leech is something I want to do, but I don't think it's something that's going to take a short amount of time. So we're not going to do that. But what we will do is we will now send buffs at the 5-minute and 10-minute mark of the game. So how do we want to do this? Game server has an update. Game logic. Let's write this. Let's make some constants. So export const subsequent buff choice times equals 510. Okay, so buffs are given out at the times in minutes specified in this array. For example, if you said 1, 4, 6, 7, then buffs would be given out at the 1-minute mark, the 4-minute mark, etc. So array number. Note that a buff is always given out at the beginning of the game. So that's why these are subsequent buffs. So now what we do here is in the game server, we can say this dot next buff index, next buff time index equals 0. And then when we start a new game, we need to say this dot next buff time index equals 0 again. So let's try this out. Update game logic. Oh, we need to keep track of when the game started or how much time has elapsed in the current state, which I believe we have in game state. Time remaining. Okay, we don't have it. So this should keep track of how long we've been in this state for. What we could do, set game phase, time remaining. What is this? Set game phase. No, we should call this function GameState.set game phase. Game serialized.game phase and serialized.time remaining. That way this stuff converges on that function. I'm not doing this to remove lines of code or something. I'm doing it because it makes more sense. Now, here's what we can do so that we have an absolute time and we don't need to rely on a function call to get it. We can say this dot initial, or like original value of time remaining, well, equals this dot time remaining. So this is always set to the starting value for this dot time remaining. That way we can compute the amount of time we've been in this phase without having to call date.now. Or keep track of really anything else, which we'd already need to do. So now what we do here is we set this is the whole reason why I did this, we set this here, this dot time remaining. Perfect. Okay, next, get time elapsed. Hey Weedly. So get time elapsed is now return original time minus this dot time remaining. So if you originally wanted this to last for a minute, oh, and this is going to be in milliseconds. So return number time elapsed in milliseconds in this game phase. It's me, Mario. I've been playing Super Mario 3D World lately. I'd kind of written the game off because I tried playing it with some friends who weren't, well, I'd say they're very casual gamers, and I think the game was a little too much to handle. So then I started playing it single player, and I thought, this game's too easy. So I finally gave it a shot again, and the last couple of worlds finally get to the difficulty level I wanted, so it does become a much more enjoyable game. Casual playing or speedrunning? Oh no, just casually playing Super Mario 3D World. I actually still haven't beaten the game, and I've owned it for like, I don't know, a year. However long. I don't think I've ever speedrun a game. The closest I came to this, and this is not something speedrunners ever do, the closest I came to speedrunning is I played Pokemon with a friend of mine, and we were allowed to speed up the emulator. So it was how fast can you get through the game using an emulator speed up. And I realized that Pokemon has not aged well. We were playing the first gen, and there's just so many things. It's a game about random battles. So speedrunning it came down to how many repels can you get, because clearly it was not, are you powerful enough to beat the game, because you're getting in so many battles and fighting them all so quickly that you're leveled up. So get time elapsed. Most Pokemon speedruns use in-game time only if, no, what I meant is, like, okay, what speedrunners never do is they never speed up the game while they're playing it on whatever emulator they're playing on, because you can't, first of all, it wouldn't really help you in most cases. All it would do is reduce your real time and not change the in-game time. But second, you don't know if the emulator is it's like a high fidelity thing and it's not skipping frames or something, or letting you do something faster than you should be able to. I don't know. I've never seen a speedrunner do that. I've never seen them like increase the speed of the game that they're playing. Overclock your N64. Beat Ocarina of Time in 17 minutes. What was I even coding? Get time elapsed. Okay, yeah. So here's what we got to do. We got to check. Get time elapsed is going to be in milliseconds. So what we do here in update, we're going to say this dot check for new buffs. So, oh, that's got to be after update game state though. Okay, so check for new buffs. We can say const elapsed time in minutes equals this dot game state dot get time elapsed divided by 10 times what? 60? No, what am I doing? 60 times 1000. Yeah. So we divide by the number of milliseconds in there. Okay, so then, and then const minutes needed to minutes of next buff equals constants dot subsequent buff times this dot next buff time index. Now, if that doesn't even exist, then just return. And if elapsed time in minutes is greater than minutes of next buff, then we grant a buff. So console.log to do grant buff. And then we say this dot next buff time index plus plus. Okay, great. So now let's do this. We're going to do console.log elapsed. Let's do it this way. Elapsed time in minutes. Next buff at minutes of next buff. Okay. Now we'll try this out. This is really going to spam the console. That's fine. I'm not doing this because I'm not going to keep this in the game. I just want to test this out. All right, here we go. Let's refresh. Let's take a look. Oh, we need to make sure that we're in game. So, yep. Yeah, this is working. So next buff of 5. All right, we'll test this out more. What we need to do and check for new, whoops, I didn't mean to close that. We need to check for new buffs only if we're in game right now. Yeah. All right, so how do we want to do this? Whoops. Okay, I don't know what I just did. That was all really terrible. All right, let's try this again. So here we go. If current game phase equals, and then what's it called? In game. Yeah, this. So if we're in game, then let's change this to not. So good. If we're not in game, then just return. And we don't want to check for new buffs every single update. We only want to check every once in a while. So we could actually just put this on a timer if we want. And then what we also could do is we just schedule a timeout for like 5 minutes from now. But then the problem is if we ever manually change game states later, I think that system would be easier to introduce bugs. Also, there actually isn't too much to check here. Hey, folk. Yeah, how do I want to do this? I guess I'll just do a set interval thing. This dot check buffs interval ID equals set interval. It doesn't matter how many times I use this function, I can never remember if it's function first or if it's timeout first. So I always have to try it. Set interval function console.log high 100. Oh, cool. It's function first. And it returns an ID. Okay, so function first. So this dot check for new buffs dot bind this, and we'll run it every second. Or remove it from here. And now if we take a look at this is let's just change this. Let's make it give us buffs at the 6-second mark and at the 12-second mark. So we'll do that. And we'll see if this works. Okay, yeah, let's refresh this. So we're gonna get our first, and things are, it's not actually gonna give us buffs yet. I haven't made it do that. It's just gonna tell us whether there should be a buff or not. Let's try this out. So here we go. We should get one at the 6-second mark. So we're at 12:54. We should see something print out here. 12:54, there we go. So it should happen. And it didn't. Okay, I don't know why that is. Let's take a look. Game server, check for new buffs. Is this even getting hit? It should be getting hit every millisecond, and it's not getting hit. Oh, whoops. I put this into some random function, and the function that I put it in is never being hit. I don't know what caused me to do that. I guess I just assumed that that was the constructor. There. Okay, that should actually work now. We're getting there. And then I imagine that lunch notwithstanding, within about an hour or two, this should be finished and ready to put online, and then it's all about just adding new buffs. Okay, here we go. Refresh. Okay, so at the 12:54 mark, okay, good. We're getting this function, it's getting called. I just wasted a bunch of time there. Okay, so next buff at 0.1. Almost there, and we're done. Grant buff. Okay, good. So next buff at 0.2. Grant buff. Okay, it's 1 second off, and I know why that is. So we could say if it's like close enough. I don't know. I'll just leave it like this for now. Yeah, this is fine. I can change this later. I don't really care so much about if this is at like the 5 minute and 1 second mark, or if it's at the 4 minute and 59 second mark. That doesn't matter to me. What matters is just, are we giving out buffs? What will matter is eventually, yeah, oh, it's at the 5 minute and 1 second. Yeah, so folk, this is how this is going to work. At the beginning of every game, you get to choose between one of 3 buffs. And then at the 5 minute mark and at the 10 minute mark, you'll get that same, you get the same setup. So you'll be able to choose between these different things. And it's randomized. So you may never see this buff over the course of like 10 games, and then all of a sudden you see it every game after that. All right, so this is good. Now we have buffs. So if I were to set this at the 5 and the 10 minute mark, then that'd be fine, but we're not totally done with this yet. So send buffs at the 5 and 10 minute marks. That's not actually done. All I wrote was a to do there. If only that's how you code it, is just by saying to do : send a buff. Okay, so we need to grant the buff. So we already have this. We have generate buffs for player. So we say this dot generate buffs for player. And oh no, we don't. We do this dot generate all players. Yeah, there we go. So then we can do logger dot info. We can say minutes of next buff minutes have passed, so granting a buff to all. This should be in the verbose log, because it's going to be obvious that this is happening all the time. All right. Cool. Okay, so the only problem is that you're going to be given 2 different sets of choices now. So in generate buffs for player, if they already have outstanding buff choices, we should randomly pick one for them and then set this. So that is totally correct, and we should actually do that right up here. Oops. Okay. All right. So how do we do this? We have this in player chose buff. So here's what we're going to do. Const outstanding buff choices equals player.get buff choices. I apparently don't have anything for that. Let's check this out. Buff choices. Buffs to choose from. And there's nothing that returns this. Yeah, there isn't. Get buff choices. Let's just directly access it. Buffs to choose from. If outstanding buff choices dot length. Nope, we can't do dot length. That's not how this works. We already figured that out earlier. We could do something like get random buff choice. Return underscore dot sample this dot buffs to choose from. I don't even know if that works, so let's test this out. Let's go to desktop test HTML and we'll load this up. Try this out here. Okay, so underscore dot sample. What if we have something like A5B6? Okay, it picked 6 for us. That's actually not bad. And what if we have an empty object? It says undefined. If we have nothing, it's undefined. Perfect. Okay, that is actually good. So now this is going to return a buff. Return a buff. And if it's defined, then we just give them that. So random outstanding buff equals this dot get. If util dot exists random outstanding buff, then we grant them that. This dot, what's it called? Player chose buff. Random outstanding buff dot get ID. Except for I think the player comes first. Yeah, the player does come first. Okay, cool. Let's try this out. This should be everything it takes, and then we're that much closer to deploying and testing this. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to get a buff choice. And then at the 1254 mark, it's going to randomly choose one and give us 3 new choices. I don't know what it's even going to choose. So, whoop, it chose assertion error. That was a good buff. Okay, filtered out all possible buff choices. Ugh. That's not good. That's really not good. Oh no. Oh, I'm stupid. Oh. Oh, darn it. Alright. So, remember when I said we only need 5 buffs? Because you're given 3 choices, and then whatever you picked goes away? This is not what happens. What happens is whatever you've seen goes away. So now you always need 3 different choices. So this will be D, E, F, and then it'd be G, H, I. That's why I wrote out 12 buffs, because we need a minimum of 9, and 12 would at least give you some variety. But we only have 5, so we need to add in a 6th one. All right, for now, just so that this works, let's try this out. Let's add in like fake buff, and we're gonna say fake buff, just clowning around, man. Yeah, let's try this out. This should at least let 1 round of new buffs go through. We're gonna need to add another however many buffs before, what, 4, I think? Alright, fine. Let's try this out. So now, yeah, at the 1254 mark, we should see the other 3 buffs that we don't see here, which is what, damage. Oh, there they go. Yep, so there we go. Just clowning around. And now at the 1248 mark, the game will crash because we don't have 3 more buffs. Okay, so here's what we can do if we want to get rid of that. We're going to need to add a new buff, which we don't have yet. Did I? No output. Okay, good. That's fine. So I got to add in more buffs. But it did work. I don't know what it chose. That's unfortunate. Oh, it automatically chose buff increase missile range. Oh, interesting. It chose it for the AI player. So AI players will get random buffs, but only at the 5-minute mark and the 10-minute mark. It's actually pretty interesting. I like that a lot. I could make it so that AI players automatically get buffs. Folk says is a const like a var that you can't change. Yes, that's correct. Wow. All right, so this is working. If they have an outstanding buff choice, pick one for them. Or check if you can display more buffs and not skip the choose thing. No, so that's actually, from a game design perspective, we don't want to do... So think about this. You started a game, and there are 3 random people on your team, and there are 4 random enemies that you're fighting. There are 4 random like players out there in the world. So it's a 4 versus 4. Your ally, one of them, deploys their bots. They set it to auto deploy, and then they walk away from their computer for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or the rest of the match. You don't want them to come back and be like, oh, whoops, guys, sorry, I forgot to pick the last 2 buffs because I wasn't here for that. We want to auto choose it for them so that at least there's some chance that their bots are better, so that if they do AFK the whole match, you're not punished as much for it. Atomic says, what's the difference between let and const? The only difference is that let can be modified afterward and const cannot. So if I say let x equals 5, x equals 6, this is valid. If I say const y equals 5, y equals 6, this is invalid. So we need more buffs, but I think this is working, and I think this needs to be... So this is called when a player... So this is called either when a player chooses a buff, or when, in which case, input is provided by the user, or when the server auto chooses one for you. Alright, cool. Yeah. So then I think this commit is done. The only problem is it'll break the game. So we need to do this, which is unfortunate. There are no buff times. So now no matter how long the game goes on for, you don't ever get a second buff. And then we'll fix that in a future commit. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to set this to... these things are done. Well, this isn't totally done. We auto choose a buff for a play. God, this isn't... It can only be done once we do this. Add more buffs. Then modify this so that buffs are handed out more than once. Okay, let's check in what we have. I'm going to refresh the page just to make sure that this works. And by it works, I mean it just doesn't crash. So we get to pick one of these buffs. Let's just pick Regen. And let's go put a bot in. Ultra Killer. Have them move left, and we'll just put missiles on there. We won't even put... Well, we'll put some thrusters, I guess. Alright, cool. So my bots have Regen by default. In fact, let me do this. I'm going to make them not redeploy. I'm going to put... When all of those bots die off, I'm going to put Regen level 3 on, and we'll test to see does Regen stack. Because we can clearly see that, like, this bot, for example, it's regenerating. Well, it just died, but... Yeah, these will all regenerate. Yeah, so look at J20 over here. Its life is slowly ticking up back to full. It's a powerful buff. Because it means a total of like hundreds of hit points over the course of a match for your bots. So why exactly do you want to have stuff like const if you could just write it in JavaScript? Does it make stuff simpler? So const in JavaScript is not really the same as const in other languages. In other languages, it is more than just a compile time check. I believe it's also a runtime check. But in JavaScript, there is no runtime check. So I think it's a good habit to get into because it lets you know the intent behind a variable. Like, should this change or should it not change? But it doesn't really matter in JavaScript too much. Okay, this thing is never dying, so fine, whatever. I'll just deploy the new bots. There. So now these ones probably won't die just by virtue of having so much regen. They're like armed to the teeth with regen. So when they do finally get hit, yeah, look at this thing. Bender is recovering 45 life every turn. That's pretty powerful. So yeah, I don't know if these bots will ever be taken out. I mean, look at my score. It's 29-4 right now. Yeah, this is insane. They regenerate so fast that they almost can't be killed. Well, this one's going to get killed now. Const is JavaScript? I thought you have like an interpreter. Yeah, so const is not in the current version of JavaScript. It's in the next version of JavaScript, which is ECMAScript 6 or 2015 or whatever it is they're calling it. I don't even know anymore. So yeah, if you want to find out some more about this, you can go to Babel.js. The transpilation part of it. If you want to find out more about ECMAScript 6 features, you can go to es6features.org, which I'll paste in. And one of the things you'll find up here is constants. So yeah, this is something new in ECMAScript 6. The way you had to do it before is with defined property, and then you wouldn't be able to change it. Okay, so add more buffs. First thing we got to do is check in. And by the way, we're going to work on this a decent amount more, then I'm going to go get lunch, and then I'll put in like another 4 hours after that. So just keep in mind, lunch is coming soon. I need to eat. Game server, next buff, time index. I don't know if the way that I'm doing this is the greatest, but we'll write this down anyway. So this is a number. This refers to the index into this that we're currently checking against. That way we know when to dole out another buff. When we hit the length of this, we will stop doling out buffs. Oh, which really means the best way to do this would be to turn off this timer. I'll just write it down as a to-do item for right now. I don't really want to do it. So we can say to do, if we're done giving out buffs, then we can stop the set interval and later restart it in the next game. It's not a huge performance impact though. Is it the same for class? Class keyword? Yeah, classes are only in ECMAScript 2015. Although I'm not really using JS, but I like it more and more. So Atomic, something to keep in mind is that you can't accomplish anything new with classes in ECMAScript 2015. So if you have class person, I've kind of, this is what I've said a bunch of times on stream before. If you say something like this.name equals name, say name is like console.log, this.name. This is exactly the same as saying something like this. Person equals function name, this.name equals name. And then saying person.prototype.sayName equals function console.log this.name. You have to construct both of them with something like this, new person, and then you still call them like this, the functions that you have. So classes in ECMAScript 2015 are just syntactic sugar for prototypal inheritance. Also, I forgot a semicolon. So you can't do anything new, but I guess you can do it a little bit more succinctly because you don't need to type prototype out and you don't need to type function out. So how many characters is this? 127, whereas this is 122. Wow, that's not even true. Why is this more characters? Oh, because of the tabbing in. Yeah, so if I were to tab this back, which I don't, that looks ugly to me now. Now all of a sudden it takes 103. So yeah, it's fewer typed characters. And hey, SwiftBlue. Partial Data says, so I had a few too many beers last night and I created this JS game because Adam inspires me. Oh boy. Oh, I clicked to move forward? Wow. I never would have expected this. All right, what happens? What happens if I get to Friday? Oops, I suck at this game. Those Adam bosses, they're just too hard. Also, is this an Indian office? Okay, I'm gonna do it this time. No, your hitboxes are all wrong. I'm about to like manually go into your code and change this. Oh, I did it. You survived a work week with management. Wow. All right, now I'm gonna rip your code apart. Are you ready? Oh, you threw all your code into the HTML page. Wow, speed Y. challenge solution, the player object, the goal object, mouse down, touch start, weekend hero, Friday. Oh boy, alright, well, thank you for that. Alright, let's give partial data 3 points. I don't even know why. I should write myself a note to highlight this later. Alright, highlight at 3 hours 40 minutes or so. Whoop whoop. Okay, let's get back to coding because I want to go eat lunch pretty soon. Yeah, so next buff. Alright, let's take a look. So set interval is only check for new buffs every so often so that we're not wasting time checking when buffs are only given out like for 2 seconds out of the yeah, I'll say out of the 1,000 seconds of a game. Oops. Oops. Okay, I screwed that up. Let's quit. Try this again. Okay, so we got that. Check for new buffs. Check for new buffs. Checks to see if enough time has elapsed for us to give out buffs to everyone. Okay, so make sure we're in game. Then check to see how many have elapsed. Yeah, perfect. It's possible that we're at the end. Oh yeah. If we do this, then we need to. Then we no longer need to check till that exists on minutes of next buff above. So it's possible that we're at the end. So it's possible that we're done giving out buffs. Yeah. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Yeah, okay, that looks good. What next? Constants. Oh, we gotta uncheck this in there. But then the rest of this is fine. And this is fine. Good. And this is fine. Alert is evil though. Well, sure, but to add in text just for the sake of, yeah, anyway. Okay. We should also comment why I did that. No, I don't need to comment that actually. Do we have reset buff choices though? If you've, yeah, okay. So when you're given the choice of 3 new buffs and already have outstanding buffs, a random buff will be chosen before giving you the new choices. And what else? Oh yeah, added the code that will eventually let us give new buff choices at the 5 and 10 minute mark. But we don't have enough buffs for that to work yet. So new buffs are not actually granted yet. Granted right now. Okay, and when you're given the choice of 3 new buffs, and already, I'll say, but already have outstanding buffs, a random buff will be chosen before giving you the new choices. Yep, great, okay. So this is good. Next, we go back into constants. We set the pregame time to 1 second. And now we need to add in more buffs. So let's do this. What should we put in? I'm not going to put in team buffs. Damage dealt when x coordinate is even. All right, let's put this one in. Buff constants. Yeah, Partial Data says, that was just a simple game I was messing with to learn JavaScript. I still have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll get there. Immediately invoked function expressions blow my mind. Yeah, and I think that's what I struggled with when I started to learn JavaScript. And when I started to learn JavaScript, it was to make this game, which you guys have seen a million times before, but I linked it in the chat. You can play it if you want. It's all open source. This was my introduction to JavaScript, and I'm sure I made a ton of mistakes. So, yeah. But hey, it works in the end. Nice. Okay, so we're going to add a new buff. Oh, thanks, Partial Data. Partial Data said, your game is sweet, both Botland and that open source game. Although Partial Data did type Bogland, which is my new swamp-based game that I have not released yet. We're going to make one called Damage Dealt, like X Chord Even. I don't know exactly how I want to do this, but let's just call it that for now. Okay, then we add in this, and we're going to say damage dealt X coordinate even. So increases damage dealt by buff value percent when... Oh, how does this work with landmines and stuff? It's the thing doing the damage that needs it. Okay, yeah, we need to write something in here. So in one of the tests, for the do more damage when on an even tile, make sure this affects landmines on even tiles too. It should not be based on where the landmine layer is/was. Well, is currently. Coin that phrase now. Increases damage dealt by that when on an even tile. See, this is something I don't even know how to communicate to people. Like, here's what I want to happen. If x% 2 equals 0, then you do, like, add damage bonus. That's basically it. So now how do you communicate this to someone? Because this is not necessarily your bot. This could be your a landmine that you lay. And it could... Oh, but... no, I can't code this right now. This is going to be too hard with things like artillery. How does this affect artillery? This would have to be something that's given to... There's a buff that will only be applied when you're on an even tile. Yeah, I don't think I can do this right now. I don't think it's a good idea. I want to add in simple buffs for right now. So I don't think we're going to do this. I'm going to cancel this. Cancel because we still need to finish designing this for artillery and landmines. Alright, Life Leech is a difficult one. Artillery splash damage. I think this is doable. So there are going to be buffs on entities where they don't apply. And I think that's okay. But it's something like lower cooldown on all Terminators. This doesn't really apply to something like an artillery shell, but it'll be there anyway. Hey, Mason. Mason says, hey, Adam, how's it going? Making a checkerboard where when players on black deal double damage. Yeah, so if arenas end up looking like how they are now, where they're a checkerboard, which they may or may not in the future, then you could just say, yeah, when you're on a certain color tile, do more damage. I'm not sure how they'll end up looking. I'm not sure I even want this buff in the game right now. Let's do something simple. This is a simple one. Lower post-teleport cooldown. Lower teleport cooldown. Or I guess I could say lower post-teleport cooldown. I'd like a buff that makes you code bots faster. Yeah, running the code I could definitely do, but making you better as a human, I guess I could mail coffee to your house. So lowers post teleport cooldown by that percent. Yeah, good. Okay, so what percentages do we have here? 30 and 10. All right, good. Next, let's make this code work. So in teleport, we have an is teleport thing here. And somewhere here we set, that was it. Where was that? No, I lost it. All right. Yeah, here. Last Terminator run. So if last Terminator run is teleport, so we get the cooldown multiplier here. Now we also check for a buff. This can't be if. Yeah, this can't be if. It needs to be assert. Assert util.exists. A bot ran teleport without the hardware. It's the same. This doesn't necessarily need to be there. Okay, so then that's fine. Then we need to get the buff here. So let's put this here and go take a look at get buff. Yeah, here. Okay. So teleport cooldown buff equals get buff lower post teleport cooldown. Now we're going to say that the cooldown multiplier, we're going to add in, this should be additive, so what we should say is negative here. I don't know how to do this. Percent damage taken is like minus percent damage taken. So post teleport cooldown, this is how I should say. I should say post teleport cooldown percent. Yeah, that way it's generic and there's no inherent lower it. So now what we say here is multiply it by negative 100. And then here we can just add the value in. But then we also need to say that this is this. How about a buff confusion or something like that that makes enemies move to a random adjacent tile? That would actually be pretty interesting. I'm going to try to stick to straightforward ones for now, just to pad our number up to 9, because we need 9 buffs for me to be able to deploy this code. Yeah. Okay, did this work? We need to test this buff out. How do we test it? Well, we need to get the buff first. So let's just choose something here. I'm going to write some code. I'm going to say if can teleport x minus 2 y, then teleport x minus 2 y. Actually, we don't even need this. Let's just paste this into here. Okay, and then let's also try x plus 2 y, and let's try, I don't know, this. There. And we can change it to minus as well. All right, so there's our code. Let's paste this back into the game, prettify it. There we go. Okay, we don't even need to move there. So we got the code. We're gonna refresh this page. And here we go. We need the teleport one. Those are not teleport. So we gotta refresh the page until we get teleport. Oh, come on. What are the odds that I didn't get it twice in a row? Lowers post teleport cooldown by 30%. Okay, we got it. So here's what we do. We make teleport, and we're going to put teleport level 1, which is going to make us wait like nearly 4 turns. So let's just get a general idea for how fast this thing is moving. So there you go. And now we're going to choose lower post teleport cooldown by 30%, and it should go 30% faster. This is a very unscientific way of testing this. Okay, well, that was impossible to figure out. So how about this? How about I make it lower it by 90%? That way it's very obvious that this is happening. Weapon idea, Wololo enemy units in your team. I don't know about converting units. I think that might be a little too much. Okay, did we get teleport? No. Oh, man. If we're not offered teleport, I can't test this out. So I think I've got to change it so that we're always offered it. Oh, here we go. All right. So we put our teleport bot down. So teleport. Where's teleport? There it is. Teleport. Good. Deploy. Okay, so we can see it moving in the background. Now we're going to say lower the cooldown by 90%. So it should go very fast. And it is not going very fast. Yeah, actually, it is going fast. What is happening? Cooldown. Oh, whoops. I'm supposed to multiply it by this value. Oh. Oh. Okay. So yeah, here's what's happening. I'll explain what's going on here. Teleport, the way that it works is it multiplies your normal cooldown by 400%. So when I said here minus 90%, it's just adding the two. So it's turning it into 310%. What I wanted to do is multiply it. But I don't know if that's... How do we want to do this? We could multiply your cooldown multiplier by this value. So you're taking 90% of... Okay, yeah, let's try that. Let's just do times equal here. Let's see what this looks like. This should be super fast. Like super fast teleporting. Oh, see a partial data. Oh, whoops. That is something I say a lot. So fine. And I guess I smile as I say it. Let's add quote. Do I need to put... Wait a second. Do I need to put the quotes there? Yeah, I do. Okay, let's try it out. So, wait, what happened to our buff? What did happen? Did I accidentally click a buff? I don't even remember doing that. Post teleport cooldown percent. No, I didn't refresh the page then? I don't know what happened here. Alright, also let's cut that out because that's getting really annoying. We're going to change it so that the only buff that ever shows up is teleport. So let's get rid of these three things. There. Now teleport's always going to show up. Wait for the build to finish. Perfect. Alright, let's try it out. Nope. Assertion. Created a buff without an ID, undefined. Oh, we can't do it this way. How am I supposed to do this then? Because I cut out the IDs. I need to cut out the templates. That's what I need to do. Okay, fine. Let's get rid of 3 of these templates. 1, 2, 3. There. Yeah. All right. In the meantime, we can refresh this and see if we get teleport. If we do, then we're good to go. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's try this out. We deploy our teleport bot. Oops. All right, that's what I meant to do. We deploy our teleport bot, and there we go. And now we lower its cooldown, and now it should like zip across the screen. Oh boy. Well, that was pretty interesting, right? So if I auto-deploy these bots, they'll just start jittering over here because their cooldown is so low. It shouldn't be that low though, right? What is this doing? It's doing 1,000 times 4 times point... Wait, what? Oh, times negative 0.9. So this ends up being... what I wanted to, but in the wrong direction. Oh, okay. So then here's what we change this to. We're almost there. So let's do lowers cooldown by this much. We get rid of the negatives here. This isn't going to be... Yeah. So then in code execution system, so we got to save this file. In code execution system, we gotta find the cooldown multiplier, and what we've got to do is times equal 1 minus teleport cooldown buff dot value. Nice code you got there. My new programming language called Adam is Stupid. Alright, almost done. The jittery bots will no longer be a thing. They will be very fast. They'll be moving at 400 millisecond teleports, which is... Wait, no, 400? No, 360 millisecond teleports, which is going to be incredibly fast. So let's try this out again. We choose teleport, put this on, get that. Let's just save this bot from now on. Yeah, so check it out. They're moving very, very fast. And I could make it even faster by putting teleport level 3 on it. Although that's only moderately faster. Wait, what? That's not moving at all. Oh, whoops, I didn't deploy it with the JavaScript code. There we go. Yeah. So this bot moves very fast. The other ones just move fast. So obviously we're not going to keep it at 90% lower cooldown.